Hey guys, I look a little beat up right now, but that just might have to be the vibe because that's the vibe. My vibe right now is beat up. This is my January wrap up. I read, okay, all right, you could just have brought the books over. I read a whopping 6 books this month. 6 books. Isn't that so awesome? And it is awesome. I'm being sarcastic a little bit, but also not, because that was my goal. My goal was 5 and I surpassed that by 1 book. I definitely could have done more. I was a little distracted, trying to get into the flow of my first week of my second semester. So that definitely slowed me down a bit, but I definitely read more than I thought I was gonna read. Halfway through the month, I was like, oh, I'm not gonna be reading a lot. It's not gonna work. I'm not gonna reach my goal. But I did, because I sped read the last 2 weeks of the month, and I was going at it, and I'm proud of myself. I have potential to read fast, get stuff done, and yeah, okay, I'm just yapping. So let's go ahead and talk about the books that I read. Oh, also, this is a very depressing compilation. I did not do this on purpose, I don't think, but all of these books are depressing in some sort of way. Just makes my heart hurt, whether it was a really bad book or it was just genuinely sad. There's both of those in here, so let's get into it. Okay, so I'm gonna go in order from which I read. I did not plan this out. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I'm gonna start by the first book I read to the last. The first book I read was A Lady's Formula for Love by Elizabeth Everett. And this was an impulse buy, and I did not look up the reviews before I bought it. I hated it. Yeah, I hated it. I gave it 2 stars. I give the author the benefit of the doubt because this was her first novel, but it was still really freaking bad. I'm being awful right now. If you want a book that is basically just wait, I don't have to say anything because I'm not recommending this to anybody. So just don't read it. Just don't read it. This might be the worst book I ever read in the romance category. It was meant to be a feminist novel, but it was so anti-feminist that it was funny. It was so funny. The main character is so in love with science, and whenever she would go and describe her scientific, explanation or whatever, she'd go, the scientific theory of, and then the author would write ... as if saying blah, blah, blah. We don't need to hear all that, but, she loves science. So I thought that was really, really funny. The characters didn't love each other. It made it seem like they loved each other, but it was just lust, which was annoying because, they really didn't know anything about each other. And it was just, okay, here I am ranting about it. Just don't read it. The next book I read was Tender is the Flesh. Let me tell you about this one. This one was it was raw. It gave a raw take on what humans are capable of and what humans would do when the world goes chaos. So yeah, they're basically eating humans at this point. There's an animal disease that prevents them from eating animals. All animals are killed off. It's basically illegal to eat them. And it becomes legal to breed humans. Had so much hope for the main character. I'm not gonna spoil it. I can't spoil it. It's crazy. It's fast paced. Just read it. It's said to be gruesome and gross. It's not. It's not. It could be worse. This was 5 out of 5 stars. Awesome, awesome, awesome quick read if you like the thriller, dystopian type novels. The next book I read was The Book of X, which was another impulse buy. I just got paid, had to go to Half Price Books. This book is about a girl who's born with her stomach in a knot, and her mother has the same condition, and so does her mother's mother, and she's basically living life through that. It was really just the saddest book I've ever read. I feel like one of the saddest books I've ever read, and it just hit really close to home. I feel like it really resonated with me because it has a lot of lessons other than just portraying how men are in society, how men treat women, and the different dynamics that the two have. But it also talks about family values, core values, and how we get so self-involved sometimes that we forget, everything that we should be grateful for. I felt so strongly for this main character. She's just trying to prove herself to fit in. Her mom's always pushing her to fit the standards stress of society during the time, and she's faced with so many bad interactions with men other than her dad and her brother, which she realizes she takes for granted. I feel like anybody could read this book and have a great lesson learned, because we really tend to forget about what we have and instead yearn for what we don't have. We want to change ourselves to fit these standards, but that's not actually what matters, is it? 5-star read. I cried. Next is the book I read for school. This is a short story compilation, so like counts but doesn't. No, I think it counts because I mean it's my book. I read it, I bought it, I read it. This book basically has a ton of short stories in here talking about the Indian immigrant experience. It is so excellently written. Every single story has so much power. She really is able to capture the Indian experience when exposed to American culture. It's like culture shock whenever you come to America as an immigrant. You know, you want to bring your culture with you, but then there's culture clash. It's such a sad story. Although they're all separate stories, it seems like they're all unified into one. There's themes about marriage, there's themes about women, what it's like to be a female immigrant in America, and just all the struggles that come with change. I think everybody should read this book. All the stories are great. They're so deep, very thought-provoking, and all of them kind of end in ambiguity, which is awesome because they're all up for your interpretation. And I think that's really important to what makes this book this book. But yeah, Interpreter of Maladies by Wampa Lahiri. I don't think I said that yet. I think I gave it 4 stars. 4 stars. Because some of the stories, like, I was just like, eh, but a lot of them were really good. Okay, we're down to the last 2 books. I read I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. And honestly, there's just not much I can say about this book because you just have to read it. Because I feel like if I start explaining it, I'm just gonna go into like a loophole of, do I say this part or do I not say this part? And it's just, it's a mind bender. It'll mess with your mind. You'll be like, oh, okay, this doesn't matter anymore. This is crazy. He takes us on this wild ride, and I feel like it was so worth it. I was so shocked at the end. Like, my mouth would just so good. The last book I read, I actually finished this like an hour ago. It's called The 57 Bus by Doshka Slater. It's a true story about this trans girl who, you know, is minding her own business on this public transit bus thing, whatever. And this boy decides to light her skirt on fire as like a haha funny joke, but it's not haha funny because she gets 3rd-degree burns and has to go to the hospital. And we're taken between both perspectives, both families, and it's really just, it hurts for both sides. It really does hurt for both sides because, you know, one grew up in a more privileged and affluent community while the other had such a tough time and had so many ups and downs throughout life. And you can see that it wasn't like, it's not him. It wasn't him to do that. It was really sad, and it's a true story. I was looking up some more info about it afterward. It's a learning lesson for both, obviously, the people that it happened to, but for us as well, to raise awareness for these types of things, because no matter what your opinion on people is, that doesn't mean you get to light them on fire. You just have to read it. It's really sad, but it's good that both perspectives are in this book because they're both people, you know, they're kids do stupid stuff, and this was a really stupid mistake that made him just change his whole life because there's no going back. There's no I'm sorry, the damage is done, and like you're looked at as an adult when you do a crime like that. Yeah, I gave this 4 stars, and you see it won a ton of awards and stuff. So like I said, this was a very depressing January wrap up, and the fact that I didn't really read that many books, it was just 6, but I think this is the most books I've read in a month ever, so yay! But still, I wish I read more, and my goal for February is to do like 7 or 8, maybe not including my book for school, because this was a book for school, so technically I read 5 outside. My favorite, I think, was the Book of X because it spoke to me the most, and my least favorite obviously was this book. Actually, you know what? I dare you guys to read it. I will mail someone that book. I will mail it to you, and your brain's gonna explode. I could not have made it through that book without reading it out loud to my friend while we were both just like, there's no way this was actually published right now. Okay, done hating. I hope to have a better February wrap up. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a great day, a great night, a great everything.